All right, and we are live. Hi, everybody. I'm Katie Harris, owner and CEO of Nursepreneurs, and I'm here with Casey. You want to say hi, Casey?
Hi, everybody. I'm Casey. I work with Katie at Nursepreneurs.
And we are talking today about our newest program that we have, and I'm actually looking for a link to that place. But anyway, we are talking about our newest program, which is the Startup Cycle, and for Nursepreneurs. And here's Amy. So we're very excited to have Amy as well. Amy is the course director for the Startup Cycle. Amy, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. So I am so excited to start this Impact Startup Cycle with you. I am Amy Felix. I am the founder of the Nurse Sabbatical and have been a nurse for over 20 years and have experience now transitioning into the entrepreneur space.
Awesome. So we wanted to do, here's that link. We wanted to talk a little bit about what you can potentially do in this course. So this course is a little bit different than other courses that we've done because it's not about a specific business model per se. It's about taking the problems that you see every day on the unit and learning how to turn that into a business. So I thought we could, kind of brainstorm some ideas. And if you guys have ideas, definitely put them on and let's talk about it. Let's, put it out there and think about how you could turn the problems that you see in the hospital into a business.
Yeah. Right. That one thing that drives you crazy every day at work, drop it into the chat if you want, and we will see it and we can kind of riff on it a little bit.
Yeah, actually, Casey and I were just talking about hospital systems. So I have a nurse who specializes in aromatherapy, and she's building a business around aromatherapy. And I said, I don't know if this is a rabbit hole, but this is a pet peeve of mine, and it's the waiting rooms of hospitals, clinics, whatever, doctors' offices. First of all, they stink. And second of all, they're just not fun to go to. And, I said, because you do aromatherapy, and we all know that smell has a powerful impact on the brain and on your senses and how you are perceived. And so I said, what if you brought aromatherapy into these clinic waiting rooms? So now, I know when I go into a spa, I'm immediately triggered into calmness. Wouldn't it be amazing if we could do something like that for offices? So that would be something, that's an idea to play around with, and how can we build a business around that idea? And Casey and I are already thinking about it ourselves. So
because I was saying, I picked up a shift at one of my per diems, and it reminded me, because it was just fresh on my mind, I did this yesterday, that I constantly am kind of half laughing and half joking with families. I'm in pediatrics, and we in our office, it's like everything is right at the level where the kids can mess with it. So there's drawers with our sterile instruments and the light switch and all these things. And it's like, I'm constantly joking with families, like, I'm going to become a billionaire when I start a consulting company and help people not put things at this level for kids, because the parents are so embarrassed. The kids are running around, sticking their hands in the drawers. They're saying sorry to me. And I'm like, I'm sorry. This is so silly. Why do we have this drawer and these buttons available to your toddler? Or I'll be in the middle of an exam. The light switch gets turned off by the sibling, And it's like, come on, why aren't we thinking about this when we build these out?
Casey, I completely agree with you. In the emergency room, the code bell was literally the level where the toddler could reach it. So you have lots of people like running, and it's like, oh, my child thought the nice shiny blue button, of course, was the best thing to hit. So yes.
Oh my gosh, similar thing. In the hospital, whenever I'm rounding there, all of the light switches that you're supposed to use are red. What do you think I do when I'm looking for this light switch? I definitely don't touch the thing that's red, because I'm like, I'm going to turn off, something important. No, that's just the light switch so I can see for the exam. Why is it red? Why?
Yeah. So I think we have something in the comment, you guys.
Yeah, it says, someone said something about transitioning patients to hospice in the final days of life.
Versus.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I obviously haven't had enough coffee. Versus earlier, when we can help improve quality of life for longer in chronic conditions. Yes, that's huge. I think we have a nurse that we work with who started a hospice company, I think, and talks a lot about earlier referral to hospice.
Well, there's also death doulas, right? So, I've coached a couple death doulas, and it's not nobody wants to talk about death, right? And we delay, and we all pretend that it's not going to happen to us, but nobody's escaped it. It's a never-ending business model because it's impossible not to die. So, but one of the things that we talked about was, instead of being a death doula, which it seems like you're calling them Grim Reaper. We
Right.
call them legacy consultants. So, like, how to plan your legacy now, or how to take, let's say, and I think about this because a colleague of mine, she was dying of breast cancer 10 years ago, and I just remember thinking, like, there's so many things that I want to pull together for my legacy before going, for my son, for my family, and helping to plan stuff like that. I mean, it's such a beautiful business, and people are scared to death of death, but I think nurses have been around it so much that we have a great perspective on it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead,
Amy.
Oh, yeah. And I think that's the thing. The nurses have such a unique experience. And, based off this Facebook user, you probably have experience with it and realize this is a problem. Why can't we transition people earlier? And it's that unique skill that would make you the best person to do this kind of work.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, exactly. And that's right. That's one nurse thinking of one way to utilize all these skills and transition it into a business where you can really do, like we said, something so beautiful. Right. Sometimes I think in our traditional roles, we just feel capped. Like I have this passion and I went into this field because I wanted to help people and make this huge difference. And then sometimes you get into these traditional roles and you kind of lose, you're like, wait, this isn't what I thought it was going to be as a nurse, but we have the opportunity. It's there. And a lot of times, though, it means stepping away from that traditional role and doing something that we start ourselves. Right. We have a new a NICU nurse, and I've seen a lot of posts recently in our community about NICU nurses. Like, I've been a NICU nurse for 16 years or whatever it is, and I want to get away from the traditional bedside, but what could I do? Okay, we have a nurse who's doing same thing, long history of being a NICU nurse, and she's doing mobile newborn lab services. So like the Billy checks, right? And everyone in pediatrics knows it's like a nightmare trying to get a newborn baby checked for their bilirubin levels on a Saturday or a Sunday, for example. So she's doing those in the home. She's doing weight checks in the home. She's doing mobile newborn, the state screening labs, right? Because there's lots of people having home births now and their babies need those state screening labs accomplished. And she's so well positioned for that because she's been dealing with the tiny little, micro newborns her entire career. So she knows exactly how to handle both the baby and that mom who's transitioning into this whole new world of postpartum. And how nice as a newborn mom, as a postpartum mom, to not have to strap your baby into the car seat and stress out in the car ride all the way there. And, especially if you don't have someone to drive you there, afraid your baby's not breathing in the back seat and all of that comes with you're so anxious as a postpartum mom and you're scrambling and you forget the diaper bag and you forget this. But if a nurse is coming to you in the home who's a skilled newborn, NICU nurse, you're feeling good.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, Amy.
Yeah, as you say, NICU nurse, I actually also worked with someone who was a NICU nurse practitioner and had the same idea that, I always get called to kind of help calm the parents that are really anxious or they're really having a struggling time with the families, especially if they're from a different background or they speak Spanish. And she found that to be something that she truly enjoyed besides being a nurse practitioner. But she also had this idea of like loving to work in the wellness space and doing Reiki with clinicians. And her and I, we really tried to like figure out, well, where's your passion truly lie? There could be tons of things you want to do, but working through a coaching program really allows you to kind of figure out which one truly fits what your desire is and then how to pursue it.
Yeah.
Right. And that's exactly what I was going to say is that, that's the purpose of putting this together. And it's really the core of why I started Nursepreneurs in the first place was, to help nurses identify problems and then do something about them. Because when you're in the hospital system, it may or may not be the purview of the hospital to manage these problems, right? But it may or may not be the purview of outpatient to manage these problems. But the problem is that they're not doing it. So it's definitely in the purview of the nurse to do this, but you can't do it in your hospital role. You can't do it in your office role. If you're going to do it, it's something you're going to have to create a business. And this is exactly what this course is designed for. And Amy, maybe you can talk a little bit about what's in the course, what it looks like, and when it starts.
Sure. So the course, as you guys may have seen already online, is modules, right, that you're going to be going through. And every week you'll have the opportunity to be in a group setting where we get to talk about what you've reviewed. And that looks like identifying understanding the principles or the building blocks, as we're calling it, of your business, right? Whether it be trying to identify the problem, understand your unique skill set in order to solve the problem and why you are uniquely positioned in that way. In addition, we teach you how to do the research, understanding the components of your business, and then really coming up with an action plan to get started. So many times we get stuck in the space of, I have this idea, can I really do it? Do I have this idea? How do I even start? This is where you start with a group like Nursepreneurs in this program, Impact Start Cycle, to really help you take that next step. It's an investment in you. It's an investment in your lifestyle and the dreams for your life that you have.
And I just want to say, Sophia in the chat just said, I'm struggling on deciding which business to start first, doing something I love versus doing something I know. And that's literally exactly why people should come to this program.
Yeah.
That is what
we have to steal that, put it on the sales page.
Right. And that's the thing we're trying to find. There's something, I talked about this in the webinar a little bit. There's this Japanese term called ikigai, but basically it's like the intersection of what you know, what you love, and what you're good at, and what the world needs, what the need is. And somewhere in that Venn diagram of those three circles is where you need to, that's where you need to be. And so we help you tease those pieces out, because at Sophia, I would bet $1 million that there is something that you love and that you're good at and that you know that the world needs, and you can find that special spot and take that as your first business. And maybe, and hopefully you do get to start 1 million other businesses down the road, but we want you to, solidify this idea and really have an awesome foundation for it. Because if you do something you know, but you don't love it, you're not gonna keep going. If you do something you love, but you maybe don't have the skills, that could be a challenge.
Yeah.
But if you find that sweet spot, then that's your most likely path to success.
Exactly.
Agreed. And when does this course start, Amy?
The course starts next Wednesday. I mean, you can sign up anytime, but we're doing it in a cohort base. So October 4th is going to be the first weekly live session. So this is your grand opportunity to kind of stop waiting for the next thing and the next thing, and to truly take time now to get on board with creating that business that you want.
I love it. So where you want to go is, and this is a little bit lengthy. We might have to work on these,
so you can click on
websites, but clinic.nursepreneurs.com/impact startup cycle. We'll work on a thank you.
There you go. It's in the chat.
So you want to go there, check it out, and join by next week, because we are going to start next week. We are looking at doing these quarterly, but this is the inaugural, the first launch of this. So there's a lot of benefits to being in the first course. Let's see, what did Anya say?
She said she's concerned that it'll be very focused on U.S. business areas. Would it include or be relevant to other international nurses attending? And how do we work around the time differences?
What do you think, Amy?
So I guess it would depend on the time differences. I do think the principles truly apply to anyone or any nurse, anyone with healthcare background who's truly interested in kind of finding, as Casey put it, that sweet spot, right? Where your passion lies with your experience. I think that, Anya, I'm not sure where you're located. You're in the
UK.
So if I'm thinking, it would probably be later at night, UK 6 hours ahead, right?
I think most of those are about 6
It will
hours.
be ahead, but we will have recordings of every weekly live session. And there are other different things on the Nursepreneurs community that you do have access to. So if you're unable to join at that hour for the weekly coaching call, remember there's still the course in itself, as well as the community that you can have access to. And then if you are not able to join the weekly session, there definitely will be recordings uploaded by the next day for you to view. And
Yeah,
feel free to send questions in the community and whatnot so we can communicate with you and make sure that you're getting what you need.
Yeah, and we've worked with nurses globally. So we've worked with nurses in Africa. So Irene is in Kenya. I actually went out and visited her a couple of years ago, and you know it was fun. It was my son; he was 8 at the time, but and we met up with Irene, and you know she was creating a business in Africa. And you know, do I know the laws and rules and regulations of Kenya? No, I don't. But setting up the business, the principles of it, and finding the idea and validating it, they're all the same no matter what country you're in. You know, certainly the rules and regulations are going to be different, but we're not going to be covering those anyway. And it is something that you're going to have to look up. But we do have nurses in the UK. We have nurses from Africa. We have Australian nurses. I've got one nurse that's in Indonesia. So they're kind of all over the place.
Yeah, Canada, lots.
Well, well, yeah. I mean, I hate to say I think of Canada as the U.S., but
Well, honestly, to make a point, Anya, one thing about the U.S., for example, is like the U.S. is very fragmented and every state is different. So even in the U.S., all of our nurses in the U.S. have to be very careful and make sure they're paying attention to their own state's regulations too.
Oh, it's so painful.
Yeah, it's so painful. So
some of them are cities, like the tax laws in some cities are different for businesses. So that piece is kind of.
That piece is universal. We're all dealing with figuring out our own specific regulations, but the business principles and figuring out your business and what it should be and who it should serve and your messaging and all that is all kind of universal as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sophia was saying, what time will your sessions be? I think, Amy.
Yep, the sessions will be occurring at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
On Wednesdays.
On Wednesdays, correct. So the first one is October 4th. So next Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yep.
Yep. And Sophia, the impact community that you guys get to be a part of during for 90 days, that the calls in that are all they vary in time, but those are also all recorded. And there's a whole library of prior calls that you'll have access to when you're in that community as well, that you can kind of sift through and watch at your leisure.
And the other issue with impact is that Casey has put so many calls together. There's like no humanly possible way anybody could watch all the calls that she puts together because it's amazing. Like the whole group is amazing. And we have professionals come in and talk about different businesses and aspects of businesses. And, you know, it's a really wonderful community, and we're working all the time on, you know, how can we improve this? How can we bring what you need. Actually, we were just talking about, Casey, I don't know if I was talking to you. I can't remember who I'm talking to anymore, but there was one nurse who does grant writing and helps nurses to find money to finance their strategy and their goals. And so we're going to bring her into impact. So those are the type of people that you end up meeting.
Yeah. And everything from that to nurses who teach you how to use continuing education credits to market your business, to tax professionals who teach you about business taxes, which you have to know, even if it makes you want to poke your eyeballs out.
So true.
Very, very true.
Too funny. All right. So that's, again, you want to go to clinic.nursepreneurs.com/impact startup cycle. Check out the course. It does start next week. You'll be working with Amy. You'll have the community, the Nursepreneurs community. You'll get a real taste of you know, business, and the whole idea is to formulate your business idea and to take it to the next level, right? And this is the course that has been missing, because we have lots of nurses out there that are like, I don't want to do IV hydro, I don't want to do med spa, and I get it. Like, you know, there's a certain nurse for that, but there's bigger problems, and there's a massive expertise for nurses, and that's what we want to capitalize on. And you definitely can solve the problems. The hospital knows that you're the answer. Every time there's a problem, it's always the nurses that, you know, are, you know, they're like, oh, the nurses will take care of it.
Yeah.
I mean, every time.
And the same goes too for the community at large. And that'll be one last thing I'll say is, you know, don't forget how much your patients love you. And I'm sure every nurse in here has had the experience of a nurse saying like, can't you, or a patient just saying like, can't you just come home with me? Can't you just be my doctor? Can't you just be my person? Like the community loves and respects nurses. And even in, you know, parts of the community that maybe are losing some of the faith in the healthcare system, they're not losing faith in nurses because we are such a trusted profession. So whatever it is you want to do, the clients are out there. Even if your clients are more nurses or the healthcare systems, if that's your client, or if it's actual patients and hands-on care.
Right. Plus you get the networking and the resources that we have. And the more we get to know you, I can't tell you how many students we've hired, you know, for their expertise and for different reasons. And so the more we get to know you, I mean, that becomes a possibility as well.
Awesome.
All right, guys.
Hey, everybody.
Well, we look forward to working with you. And if you have questions, definitely you can put them in the chat still. We'll answer them, or email us, or, you know, go to our web chat, and, you know, we answer that 24/7. So we're here for you, and we're here to help you achieve your dreams. So, all right, bye. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
All right, bye.